I want to flag something important before diving in. There is no publicly documented incident matching this title. No credible royal correspondent biography or official record describes Catherine expelling or clash with any of Camilla's grandsons at a Windsor banquet. So rather than inventing a scene that never happened, I've written the script below as an honest investigation into where this claim comes from, what is actually known about the people involved, and why stories like this spread online, which is both factually accurate and still a compelling, curiosity-driven narrative. This keeps the video monetization safe and truthful. Somewhere between a viral headline and a royal history book, a story took shape that never actually happened. It spread across thumbnails and video titles with startling confidence, claiming a dramatic confrontation between the Princess of Wales and one of Camilla's grandsons inside the walls of Windsor. But when you search for the origin of that claim, something strange occurs. There is no interview, no royal correspondence report, no entry in any biography, just a title, repeated across dozens of channels, each borrowing the last one's certainty without ever producing a source. So the real question isn't what happened at that banquet. It's why so many people believe something occurred that the historical record simply does not support. To understand how a rumor like this takes root, it helps to look at who Camilla's grandchildren actually are. Camilla, queen consort turned queen, has 4 grandchildren through her 2 children from her first marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles. Her son Tom Parker Bowles has 2 children, Freddie and Lola, while her daughter Laura Lopez has 3 children, including Eliza and Louis. These young people occasionally appear in royal photographs, particularly around Christmas services at Sandringham or significant family milestones, but they live largely private lives outside the working royal family. They hold no titles, carry out no official royal duties, and rarely feature in the day-to-day reporting that follows Catherine, William, or their children. That absence of visibility is itself telling. A genuine public clash at a state or royal banquet involving senior royals would almost certainly generate coverage from established outlets like the BBC, the Press Association, or specialist royal reporters such as Robert Jobson, Camilla Tominey, or Valentine Lowe, all of whom maintain close access to Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace press offices. None of them have reported any such event. What we can trace, however, is a broader pattern in royal-adjacent media that has become increasingly common since around 2019. As tabloid budgets shrank and online content demand exploded, a new ecosystem of channels emerged that package speculation as revelation. Titles built around invented conflict between Catherine and Meghan, between William and Harry, between Camilla and practically everyone, generate enormous click-through rates because they tap into something real, genuine, well-documented tension that has existed within the royal family for years. The difference is that legitimate journalists report these tensions carefully, sourcing claims to named individuals, official statements, or verified biographical accounts, while speculative content creators skip that step entirely and simply assert a scene as fact. This particular narrative likely draws its emotional fuel from something that is well documented: the complicated blending of 2 royal families after Charles and Camilla's marriage in 2005. When Camilla joined the family, she brought with her an entirely separate set of children and grandchildren who had no prior claim to royal life, no expectation of public duty, and no built-in relationship with William and Catherine's children. Royal historian Penny Junor, who has written extensively about Charles and Camilla's relationship in her biography, The Duchess, The Untold Story, has described how Camilla worked carefully and patiently to build trust within the wider family after decades of public scrutiny surrounding her relationship with Charles. That process, by most credible accounts, was slow, deliberate, and largely successful, but it inevitably created new dynamics between 2 sets of grandchildren who share a grandfather but very different public roles. Catherine, for her part, has spent more than a decade cultivating a public image defined by discretion. Multiple biographers, including Katie Nicholl in The New Royals, have documented how Catherine's approach to palace life mirrors the late Queen's own philosophy of never complain, never explain. She rarely engages publicly with family friction, and there is no recorded instance of her publicly reprimanding, expelling, or confronting any member of the extended family, let alone a young man with no official royal role. This matters because the title in question implies an act of authority that Catherine, as Princess of Wales, does not actually hold. She has no formal power to expel anyone from Windsor Castle, which remains a residence and property of the Crown, administered to the royal household rather than by individual family members. Windsor Castle itself carries centuries of ceremonial weight that makes it a natural setting for rumor and myth-making. Built originally by William the Conqueror and continuously inhabited by the monarchy for nearly 1,000 years, it has hosted state banquets, jubilee celebrations, and diplomatic dinners that are meticulously documented by royal historians and the Royal Collection Trust. Its state apartments have witnessed real moments of historical drama, from the abdication crisis of 1936 to the devastating fire of 1992 that damaged over 100 rooms. Because the castle is genuinely steeped in centuries of documented intrigue, it becomes an easy backdrop for invented stories to feel plausible. Audiences already associate Windsor with consequence and formality, so a fictional scene set within its walls borrows credibility from real history it never actually touched. It's also worth examining how banquets themselves function within royal life, because they are far more scripted than the phrase chaos would suggest. State banquets, in particular, follow protocols established over generations, involving seating charts approved weeks in advance, dress codes coordinated by the Lord Chamberlain's office, and toasts delivered in a specific ceremonial order. Deviations from this structure are exceptionally rare and, when they do occur, tend to involve diplomatic incidents rather than family disputes. The most recent widely covered banquet controversy involved seating arrangements during President Trump's 2019 state visit, which received extensive factual reporting precisely because it was real and verifiable. No equivalent reporting exists for any incident involving Catherine and a member of Camilla's family. None of this means royal family tension is fictional. Genuine strain has been documented extensively, particularly surrounding Harry and Meghan's departure from royal duties in 2020, detailed at length in Robert Lacey's book Battle of Brothers, and later addressed by Harry himself in his memoir, Spare. Camilla's own journey toward public acceptance faced real resistance for years, chronicled in numerous biographies, and openly acknowledged in royal commentary, following Queen Elizabeth II's landmark statement in February 2022 expressing her wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort when Charles ascended the throne. These are real-sourced, significant moments in royal history. The invented banquet story borrows emotional texture of these genuine conflicts and repackages it around people who have never been part of any comparable controversy. Understanding why these fabricated narratives spread requires looking honestly at audience psychology. Royal family content thrives on a sense of intimacy with people the public will never actually meet. Viewers form real emotional investments in Catherine and Camilla, in their children and grandchildren, based on carefully managed public appearances and official biographies. That emotional investment creates fertile ground for speculation, because audiences want deeper access than official channels provide. Content creators who recognize this hunger sometimes fill the gap with invented drama, rather than acknowledging the genuine limits of what is publicly known. It is a pattern that predates social media, echoing decades of tabloid invention about the royal family, but algorithmic platforms have accelerated both its speed and its reach. What ultimately emerges from tracing the story back to its source is not a hidden scandal, but a mirror held up to modern media consumption itself. The real narrative here isn't a fictional expulsion from Windsor Castle. It's the story of how quickly an unverified claim can travel once it borrows the visual language of legitimate journalism, complete with dramatic titles, cinematic narration, and the illusion of insider knowledge. Genuine royal history is extraordinary enough without invention. The blending of two families after Charles and Camilla's marriage, the careful positioning of Catherine as a future queen consort herself, the quiet integration of grandchildren from different branches of family tree into